Hi everybody, John Elsing again, and it's been a while since I've posted a vlog, or blog for that matter, and so I apologize for that, and hopefully can kind of get into a rhythm again and deliver you some content. We have been talking about the S Factor leadership, and before we get to the subject actually of what the S Factor is and how that works, I have been talking about 6 dysfunctional leadership styles. Styles that I've seen everywhere I've gone, every company that I've been at, every place I go. I see these styles pop up from time to time and in display by the leaders that run these organizations. I've seen them in big companies, I've seen them in small companies, I've seen them in churches. I've seen these styles everywhere. And so we have talked about Hovering Harry. Hovering Harry is the micromanagers of the world. We have talked about Demanding Dan, and Demanding Dans are the dictators of the world. And we have talked about Manipulative Mary. These are the control freaks of the world. And today we are going to talk about Dave the Dumpster. Dave the Dumpster, they are the yellers of the world. They are the people that are constantly yelling and harping at others, harping at their team members, harping at their fellow managers. Ken Blanchard in the book 1 Minute Manager referred to them as seagull managers. The idea being that they would leave their team alone for a while, then they would swoop in, dump on everybody, and then swoop back out. And they have 2 misguided beliefs. One is that in order to get somebody's attention, in order to get productivity, in order to get people motivated, you have to yell at them in order for them to do their job and do their task and get moving. That creates results. The truth is, it does create results, but there is some hidden consequences to those results. I mean, if you yell at somebody, they will put their head down, they will work on their task, and they will get through it. But the odds are that they may be on the lookout for another position. Second is that there is no consequence for this behavior. And we know that if there's no consequence for bad behavior, that is to say yelling, that it continues. And the fact that people think that there's no consequence, the leaders, the owners, the organizers of organizations, the managers, the fact that there seems to be no consequence, they seem to operate out of this misguided idea that they can get off scot-free. That they can just do anything that they want in regards to the people that they employ. How common is this? Well, 2 gentlemen by the name of Manzoni and Barceau wrote a book called The Setup to Fail Syndrome. And in their book, and in the research that they did, they noted that 42% of office workers work in environments where yelling and verbal abuse happen frequently. Where yelling and verbal abuse happen frequently. 42%. That's in the big number. Let me put it to you this way. You do not have permission to yell. It is not okay. Unless you're trying to save somebody's life, it's not okay. Let me contrast that with S-Factor leaders. S-Factor leaders are emotionally mature and speak to people with respect, with a tonality in their voice that shows respect for the people that they're talking to. Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 to 39, a famous scripture, probably one of the most famous of all, says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And a second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." And it begs the question, who is your neighbor? Well, certainly everybody that you rub shoulders with. Everybody that you work alongside of. Everybody you have a phone conversation with. Everybody that you text. Everybody you respond to their Facebook or tweets or LinkedIn postings. Certainly everybody that you work with. That's your neighbor. Love them as yourself. Many, if not most of you, know about legendary coach Tony Dungy. And he wrote a book called The Quiet Strength. And he is famous for this. And I'm going to paraphrase. And the paraphrase would be this, that in the first practice, after the first practice of every season, Tony would get the team together and he would say something like this: "Gentlemen, do you hear the tone of my voice right now? It will never get any higher than that." Tony with the Indianapolis Colts is legendary because they won a Super Bowl. And he's a winner. And he has demonstrated, hands down, that you can win by coaching people with a tonality and a voice and a conversation that shows respect. If you're a Dave the Dumpster, if you're a yeller of the world, I encourage you to move away from the habit of yelling and the habit of speaking in a tonality and a manner that is disrespectful, and move toward what an S factor, what a servant leader would do, and that is speak to them with respect. Everyone will be glad you did.